Hello and welcome back to the TeamCity Kotlin DSL series. In this episode, you're going to learn how to turn the UI-based configuration from last episode into Kotlin code. So let's get started. Back in the TeamCity server, make sure to edit the project and then choose the version settings page on the left here. Why version settings? Because the Kotlin code you're going to write, or rather generate in a second, is also going to live in a version control repository. Hence, you need to enable version settings. And for that, you can see there's a couple of options here. You want to make sure to set synchronization to enabled. And then TeamCity prompts you to enter a VCS route. Why is that? Because you can actually choose if your Kotlin code is going to live in the same repository as your project, so a new to-do list in this case, or if it's going to live in a completely separate, different repository. For now, we're just going to put everything into the same repository, but you can always choose to split it up later on. And then you have a couple of options when the build starts. It makes sense by default to use the settings, the latest setting from the VCS. And if you had problems in your VCS, rather in your Kotlin code, you could also make sure to use current settings from the TeamCity UI, overriding the Kotlin code settings. But as a default, it makes sense to go with use settings from VCS. And then when you scroll down, you can see there's a settings format. You can choose between XML and Kotlin. You want to go with Kotlin, but do note that the Kotlin code you write actually generates those XML files behind the scenes. And then you have a small checkbox saying generate portable DSL scripts. And that's because the newer TeamCity versions, the modern way of writing Kotlin code is through portable DSL scripts. And if you were to write Kotlin scripts for all the TeamCity versions, you'd have to uncheck this box, writing legacy Kotlin code, so to speak. So just go with the portable DSL scripts option. And then hit apply. And this is thinking back to the first episode, I said TeamCity needs write access to your repository. And this is actually exactly where it needs it, because TeamCity is now running some changes, updating configuration, and in a second you'll see that TeamCity is going to successfully committed a new revision to your GitHub repository. Right. Now let's go back to the IDE and see, after a project update, what actually happened. What did TeamCity commit? And as you can see, there's now a new TeamCity folder containing a POM.xml file and a settings Kotlin script file. Now, POM.xml file means the TeamCity folder is also a Maven project. It is not related to your ANU to-do list Maven project, which means at the beginning, TeamCity just displays it as a folder. You don't have any auto-completion inside the Kotlin script file and whatnot. And hence what you want to do is right-click the POM.xml file, scroll down a bit and click Add as Maven project. And you'll see in a second the icon here up here next to the POM.xml file changes, right? And now it's a proper recognized Maven project in IntelliJ. Which means you can go to your settings KTS file, and I'm just going to run you through a basic settings file, Kotlin code for your build configuration for your project rather, you just saw in the UI. And that is rather simple. So starting from the top, you can see there's a version 2020.1, that's the version from the TeamCity server which generated your Kotlin script file. More importantly, you have a project block specifying your project. And the project itself has a build type. So you call actually build type, the method build type on the project, referencing a singleton object here, build. What is a build type? In the UI, it's called build configuration. In Kotlin code, it's called build type. Two different names for the very same concept. So build type is just a build configuration, really. Now your project is supposed to have one build configuration / build type. And when you scroll down, you see that the build object has a name set to build, which is what you see in the UI. Then you have a VCS route pointing to DSL context.settings route. What does that mean? It means that your project, ANU to-do list, has the same VCS route as your settings KTS file. So wherever your settings file is stored, use that as the VCS root for your project. Your project also has one build step. It's a Maven build step with goals clean test. Exactly what you saw in the last episode, just running some tests in the Maven project. Also some default runner arguments to make Maven always execute all the tests, even if one test fails, because by default it just stops them. And then you have a trigger section with a VCS trigger. An empty VCS trigger, which means the default is going to get used, polling the repository every 60 seconds for any changes. So this is what a really simple, straightforward, vanilla project configuration looks like in Kotlin code. And in our next episode, we're going to start modifying these blocks here, adding new blocks, basically getting really comfortable with the Kotlin DSL. So see you next time.